Greetings, hello, welcome everyone to the 36th, is it? 36?
Mm.
Yeah, the 36th edition of Cinema Effect, organised as ever. I'm Zach and I'm joined by my fellow Hans Zimmer appreciator, Jaden.
G'day.
And PTA's number one fanboy, aka Fitzy, aka LIAM.
Hey, hello, how you doing?
I'm good. Did you like that I spelt your name out like Will I Am?
Oh yeah, Liam actually comes from William, so...
Sure. I've never actually thought of that, but that makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm being totally unironic, okay? I've just thought of this right now. This is a question I've asked before. Is Will.i.am's name William? It has to be, right?
Probably.
Do we know this?
I think so.
I'll have a quick peek.
Yeah, have a peek. Yeah. I'm really curious about this. I asked this to someone the other day, and they didn't know, and I was really disappointed. Well, okay. No, this is good. Now we have like a little cliffhanger heading out of the intro. So then we'll get the answer after I've gone through the regular bullshit.
Yeah,
which
it's William James Adams Jr.
Got it. Okay. Well, you stuffed up the cliffhanger, but oh well. We know the answer now.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, great. This is Cinema Effect, people. The podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single Monday. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. So subscribe. Rate the podcast by visiting ratethispodcast.com/Cinema Effect. Leave us a 5-star review. Follow the Instagram page. Remember to submit your questions, thoughts, reviews for next week's film in the YouTube comment section down below. But our specific question of the week that we'll be asking you is, what is your favourite documentary movie, your favourite feature-length documentary that you've seen? And as Jaden pointed out, I guess you can answer David Attenborough if you want. Like, what is one of his staple ones? But we encourage you to be a bit more creative. We don't want you to just list old David Attenborough because we all understand that his stuff is great, So, yeah, that's the question. We'll read the answers at the end of next week's episode. So thanks for doing that in advance. This week we're reviewing Little Women, the 2019 version. Does anyone know how many versions there have been before this?
Fuck tons.
I'm sorry I'm just asking questions to you all.
No.
I know there was a 90s one with Winona Ryder, and I'm pretty sure there was a fair few before that as well. And, like, a ton of other little remakes that, hardly anyone's seen.
So this is maybe the 5th, 6th Little Women movie, whatever. I don't know. There's been a fair few, is all I'm saying. But this particular iteration opened in the US on the 25th of December 2019. It was directed by Gretta Gerwig. It is a drama, and the synopsis reads, Jo March reflects back and forth on her life, telling the beloved story of the March sisters, 4 young women, each determined to live life on her own terms. Jaden, you loved the movie. You mentioned it in your highlights a few weeks back, I think.
Mm.
You got to rewatch it.
Mm.
And did you like it any less?
No. Wait. Hold on.
That's my question.
Did you like it any less? Hold on. Did you like it any less? No, I thought it was just as good. Is that what? Hold on.
Yeah.
You confuse me.
That's an acceptable answer.
But did you like it any less? If I was to answer yes or no, what would if I was to say yes to that, would that mean I liked it less, or would it mean I liked it more?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you would have liked it less if you said yes.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you love it so much, yeah?
Yeah, no, I fucking frothed this film so hard, and I'm sorry if I overhyped it for you, but yeah, dude, I fucking love this shit.
I mean, you did and you didn't, I guess. We'll get into it, but I liked it a lot too. But you go, Fitz, you've seen it as well prior to this.
No, I thought it was great, It's very spirited, very, very, got a lot of feelings, and then it's just great drama.
It is. God, spirited. Oh, spirited is a great word for it. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. No, yeah, the movie's great. I mean, it is this difficult thing of, I don't think I'd really heard, like, I knew people liked the movie, don't get me wrong, but I didn't hear heading into kind of awards season earlier this year, late last year, anyone kind of sing its praises to the level that Jaden did. I just kind of heard that people liked it. you know. So I never really felt that inclined to go out of my way and see it. But when Jaden, you know, sung its praises, I was like, wow, okay. So in that way, you set the expectations at a good level for, no, this is a movie worth being excited about, because it absolutely was. You know, it doesn't connect with me on the same level. I think it probably does for you, Jaden. But I mean, if it did, you know, I'd give this movie a 10, no doubt, like you have. So I totally understand that. No, but regardless of that, I think the movie's really, really great. I think Greta Gerwig is immensely talented. This is now her second film I've seen, and I'm all aboard the Greta Gerwig hype train at this point. I don't know who isn't, who's seen any of her movies, but there is such a clear talent, and she has such a distinct style in the way I think she directs actors and directs scenes that shines through in this movie so much, really adds to the source material, I would imagine. God knows I'm never going to read the book, but I would imagine her direction really enhances that story at its core. And then, you know, for all the same reasons I loved Lady Bird, stand out for me loving this movie as well. Before we break it down any further, I was questioning, should I read Luke's review at the end or at the start? But I feel like it could provide some jumping off points.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll go for it now, I think. So Luke wrote in with his review of Little Women, and we thank him for doing so. It was a great review. Here's what he said. Little Women is a fantastic film. At first, I was a little thrown around by the switching from present to past, mainly because I didn't know who the characters were or where they were. But as the film progressed, these juxtapositions became much more natural and really enhanced the storytelling, especially when Beth's final scene... full spoilers, by the way. Yeah, I kind of didn't think of that. The use of lighting on the sisters in the past and present was great and made the director's intention clear. When they were together, it was bright, but when they were apart, it was dark. This is very true. A similar technique was used in the scene from Christmas Morning when they give their food to the poorer family. I love how Luke's review kind of transitioned into like essay writing mode here and there. I really like it a lot. The energy of the girls was brilliant. To me, their bouncing off each other is a testament to the actors really playing the role of sisters. Hearing an American accent for Emma Watson was a shock, but her portrayal of Meg was amazing. I enjoyed how each sister's future was a twist on what they wanted to be as children. Meg enjoyed expensive things and ball gowns to be financially poor. Jo delighted in her individualism as a child but grew to be lonely. Amy lived in the shadow of Jo and under the glare of Aunt March to marrying Laurie and pursuing her art. For the record, I actually hate young Amy. She was so annoying. At first, Beth was a bit of a meh character, but I didn't really care about. But her relationship with Mr. Lawrence and Death was so emotional. The score was great, and the sounds of the tide moving in and out just before Beth's death was great. The little bit at the end where she's discussing whether or not the character was married, juxtaposed with her running to the train station, was charming and lovely. I did think it was a bit weird that they looked at the camera when they read the letter out, though. I thought the same thing, Luke. He says TLDR. This is something I should know. Okay, cool. Yeah. I figured it was like something to the effect of long story short. Okay, cool. Movie was great. I loved Emma Watson's performance. And of course, Meryl Streep can do anything. 7 out of 10. Now, when I read this, I felt like he was setting me up for a 9.
Yeah.
At least. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like he was teeing me up for that, and then like he dropped a 7, and I respect it. He's been conservative with his scores. That's fine. But Luke, if you're right into the show, we have to pick apart your review. So, but nonetheless, thank you very much. It was an excellent review. I agree with a shitload of what you said. This
is the first time that someone's actually participated in watching along and leaving their comments, isn't it?
Well, no, Henry wrote in for Phantom Thread, and we appreciated that very much.
Oh, yeah. Back 33 weeks ago.
So long ago. And who could forget, of course, my brother Jake writing in for Sharknado.
Oh,
yeah. Well, I could, because I did.
I was literally thinking you could, yeah. Where's the best place to jump off? Do we want to...
Luke addresses Emma Watson's American accent, but none of the 4 primary characters are American. 3 of them are British and 1 of them is an Aussie.
That's 100% true. Yeah. I appreciate you broached the topic of accents. Can we rank their American accents? Because Emma Watson's had to be on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think it did, because back in, 1860s odd, when was the Civil War? I don't fucking know. Like it was still like a, you know, it wasn't the American we know today, you know. So like, I kind of apologize. You know, you can apologize for some of the Britishness coming through, you know.
Definitely, and I think, you know, full disclosure, everyone, by the way, I was not alive in the 1860s, so I don't know what people sounded like. But what I'd imagine and what I've kind of heard through culture and stuff, yeah, it's definitely a different sort of old American accent with some British stuff seeping through. So that's why I can forgive it. But Joe's was spot on to what I would imagine, right? I thought hers was sensational, especially after hearing her like modern American accent or whatever, modern California accent in Lady Bird as well. So yeah, do we want to? I don't know what to do. Should we pick a favorite sister? How about that?
It's kind of hard.
It is hard, isn't it? I think all of them, honestly. I can't think of a character that let me down. Luke says that young Amy really annoyed him, and I don't disagree with that entirely. When she fell in the ice, I thought that was hilarious, and I totally was happy that happened. You know, after she burnt old Joe's books, that was her papers. That was really disappointing. But then at the same time, her character progression throughout the movie, then seeing Amy when she marries Laurie when she's hanging out in France, I thought that character progression was kind of the strongest in the movie because she seemed to have the most clear and a clearly defined change, I think, in the movie.
Yeah, so that's true. I don't know, I think you're so invested in the characters that it's fun to see where any of the sisters go.
Were you guys also annoyed by young Amy a little bit? I mean, I feel like that has to be the intention, just to show that maturity.
I mean, it's just fucking, you know, sibling interactions, you know, like.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't annoyed by it because, like, you know, I thought it was perfectly reasonable. Not reasonable. Her actions were pretty fucking, you know.
Pretty unreasonable.
Yeah, but, you know, I think it, you know, I understand it's just the way that siblings interact, so I was never really annoyed by it, but, you know. I think annoyed is the wrong word, but, you know, like, there was a slight, you know, dislike there, but that was, you know, like you said, that was the intention, so, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Annoyed might be the wrong word. I was very disappointed, and then I was happy about the falling in the ice, like I said. Yeah, I don't know, but I think I enjoyed Amy's arc the most in that way, and I think that was really well set up and established. Obviously, you know, what she did was totally unreasonable, like you said, and so seeing her mature in that way was quite satisfying to watch. But I still think I'd pick Jo as my favourite. It's kind of a cheap pick, I think. We spend the most time with her. I would say that she's the protagonist if you had to pick a person. I guess she wrote the story in the end, so that makes perfect sense. She's the protagonist. And I think I'd pick her. I was most invested in everything she was dealing with, I think. Well, you guys have to pick now. Would you guys pick Jo?
I'll go with Beth.
Yeah.
Just for
Beth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why Beth? Yeah.
I don't know. She just connected with me, you know, the quiet one. I don't know. I just really like Beth.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, she is the quiet one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was really dreading talking about this film because of how, like, emotionally connected I am with it, and, like, I'm not I don't articulate my thoughts well, and especially when it's so emotional, like, you know, I was really dreading talking about this because I just feel like I'm gonna, you know, just say random shit. It's just not gonna make sense, and, like, I just did because, like, yeah, I don't know.
No. You got nothing to worry about, bro. It's all good. I think the stuff, as Luke mentioned, with Mr. Lawrence really elevated Beth for me.
Mm.
You know, and I mean, to be fair, like, I don't know if that's an entirely fair comment, just because, like, that kind of is her core story in the movie. So, you know, of course it's going to elevate her. But as a character, like, she likes piano. That's awesome. She's awesome on piano. But if the Mr. Lawrence stuff wasn't there, I don't know if I would have cared nearly as much when she died, you know. Because I thought the Mr. Lawrence stuff was terrific. I thought kind of seeing him come out of his shell and have these neighbours over and kind of grow to care for Beth. And yeah, seeing him gift the piano, all just, and this speaks to the whole movie generally, I think, is that it's just such a simple, it's an act of kindness. It's a simple act of kindness. It's nothing like mind-blowing from a storytelling perspective, but I cared so much. I was so invested in that shit. And when he gifts the little girl a piano, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, dude, that's dope. This is why I care about this story, for these sweet little moments. And we get a lot of them. We get a lot of sweet moments. We get a lot of pretty sad moments. But that's what makes it all engaging.
I think Gerwig did a really good job of imbuing it with like the right amount of tragedy, but to still keep it with a rather hopeful, joyful tone type of thing, I mean, I guess that's more on the source material because that's where it comes from. But I think it's I think it's handled really well here because the way, and even in moments of bleakness, she smuggles in warmth, with her colors and the lighting.
No, totally, and I think you're absolutely right because it is a coming of age story, and in that way, it's often depressing with the lighting and things, and the different characters where they end up and what happens to them, and Meg's financial struggles and Joe's deliberation about what she being lonely. I thought that speech from her about being lonely was really, really something. I thought that was really impactful, and of course, Beth carking it, but this really kind of sad, universally sad shit happens. But looking back on the movie in retrospect, it leaves us on a really charming, lighthearted note, and I think that is generally the vibe it gives off throughout it. You're absolutely right, yeah.
I think when I mentioned it when I was talking about the highlights, I said like there was those slow mo shots at the start that really stuck out. But on this second viewing, I realized it was more than just the two, and I kind of felt like they, after having watched the film and then after now seeing it again, I think the slow mo shots made a bit more sense. Still don't love them entirely, but it was better. How did you feel about that? Because is that something that you?
Are these the slow mo shots? Are you talking about? Was she running through the crowd?
Yeah, at the beginning, there's one of when Joe's running through the crowd after she sold her story. When Amy first sees Teddy and friends, and then there was another few. I think there's another two. I think there was another one or two. But I think the first time seeing it, they just felt really oddly placed. But this time, it kind of felt significant to the character, and like it actually it made more sense as to why that was emerged because it kind of showed, it was Beth after selling her story. It was Amy seeing Teddy, who she loves, and then the other ones I can't recall. Yeah. But yeah,
that's really funny. I guess the fact I didn't notice them, and the fact I didn't notice them means I guess they worked perfectly for me. Should we? Greta Gerwig, right? Okay. How good is Greta Gerwig? Let's just get all our Greta Gerwig hype in a bit of a section, in a bit of a block, I think. Her, like, every time there's multiple, like, lots of characters being juggled and balanced in how much time they get in a scene, it happens a few times. As a standout example, when they're all younger, I think it's the Christmas morning scene, and they're all they wake up and they run downstairs and they're all bickering and arguing and waiting for, I think that's when they're waiting for Laura Dern to come home. Really any scene where they're all down in that living space in their house, they're all together. So everything about it is perfect, dude. It's unbelievable. And I think the way in which that's done, I don't know, it feels like something that's kind of can't be taught. I don't know if you can really learn perfect technique like that. I feel like Greta just has it down pat perfectly with the way all the actors were being directed, the blocking, the timing of the dialogue, especially. The fact that the scene is never quiet. There's never a pause between one person talking and another, or it never feels like the actors are reading a script because, we're used to in conversations in movies, person says line, so on and so forth, but everyone's constantly talking over the top of each other. There's always people talking in the background, even if they're not the main focus of the scene. And it just gives the movie such a sense of vibrancy and life that I haven't noticed in a lot of things I've watched, at least recently. And it really stood out to me. It just made the whole thing feel super, super alive and super organic. I suppose, with the character. It just made the characters feel more real than they already did anyway. And of course, given the nature of the story, they're already going to feel quite real.
Mm.
So big shout out to Greta Gerwig's direction and every single aspect of it, especially when all the characters, like I said, talking over the top of each other, talking super fast, and nothing's lost on the audience. You know, I heard everything I was supposed to hear and picked up all the information I was meant to. You never get lost in the shuffle in those scenes.
Mm.
Are there any other Greta Gerwig appreciation things that should be mentioned here?
Did she write this?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a great writer as well. I think she helped write Frances Ha, which was by Noah Baumbach, and well, it was kind of a collaboration. There was a lot of Greta Gerwig in it, but then she kind of separated from Baumbach. Well, she's married to him, but became her own director and stuff, and you can really her direction and writing just like work really well together in terms of directing characters and her characters are just really feel real and well fleshed out and stuff.
Totally. And it's no coincidence, I don't think, that you brought up Noah, and this movie reminded me of Marriage Story so much in so many ways. I think when I finished it, that was my first thought. I felt like I just got a lot of the same experience that I got out of watching Marriage Story for the first time. In terms of, the way the characters are written. You don't get as much, Marriage Story definitely isn't as lively and vibrant as this movie. That's probably why I would prefer this movie, I think. But just, I guess, at its core, it being just a showcase of domestic life and characters in pretty, I guess by film standards, might be considered dull scenarios, but of course very universal, very relatable scenarios for us as human beings. I think the similarities there are pretty obvious in the story, but then, just the feeling I got from it gave me very similar vibes too, and they released pretty close together as well, Yeah,
well, I think she started out as an actor for, like, mumblecore indie films, which are just, like, films about really kind of regular scenarios and people. And that's kind of always what she's done, like, those kind of, domestic kind of things, and they're not big movies, but I mean, apart from the everything that goes into the film in terms of the design and the world and everything, but these issues that everyone can kind of relate to on some level, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, and there was even that scene in the movie where it kind of stood out to me a little bit. I mean, I guess it could be arguably a bit meta, I suppose. But when I think it's Amy and Meg having a conversation about no one's interested in a story of domestic struggles, and one of the other ones said writing them down makes them more important. And it took me out of the movie a little bit just because I felt like at that point the characters were talking about the movie, but I also really like it because I think it's totally true about the movie. It's kind of what I was already thinking about the movie. So the fact the movie said it was sort of bizarrely, I don't know, like I could see why some people might not like it, but it kind of worked for me. It was totally on my train of thought. Do we have a standout performance at all? Because Laura Dern somehow actually genuinely surprised me in this movie.
How so?
I didn't know that Laura Dern could be this loving and this Laura Dern she was just the purest character I've ever seen on screen, man. She was sensational. She couldn't put a foot wrong, was just that perfect representation. I think it's reflected in the way Joe saw it too, and the conversation they had of just the perfect mum in every way, shape and form, just wanting to help everyone else around her, always knew the best way to talk to her kids and discipline them in the best way possible. But then also opened up to Joe about struggling a lot and how she feels like she's often not perfect in a lot of ways. Even though I was in Joe's boat, I was like, bro, what the hell are you on about? You're perfect right now. And I say that just because I feel like a lot of, if not the majority of roles I've seen her in, she's played like the opposite character. like in Marriage Story and in Big Little Lies. She's like the kind of definitely not the moral center, I suppose, of those things. So that's why I was surprised by her. Has she done things like this before and I just haven't seen them?
Yeah, I think her role definitely stands out. I guess in some ways it's similar to other roles because she always takes a kind of like authoritative role, as you said, like the lawyer
Sure.
and the and all that. Actually, she's a lawyer in both, isn't she? Big Little Lies and
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, her acting is really great. Especially the scene where Beth, the table scene, when it gets repeated, to reveal that Beth's dead.
Yeah.
Her like crying. It's kind of when she turns her face, it's really expressive.
Yeah, that was a bummer for me because I totally fell for the first half of it being the dream. I fell for it so hard. When they walked down the stairs and there was, she was fine there at the table with Laura Dern. I
No,
was
the
like,
first half wasn't a dream. It was the 7 years earlier when she got sick the first time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I in the moment, I fell for it being like the current one. So that was a fail on my part. But I literally wrote down the note of like, oh, thank Christ, she's fine, and I got totally juked on that.
I was watching with my mom. She's like, "Oh, I thought she died." But,
yeah, I know. Yeah, that was a shame.
And Timmy's performance is really great. I was me and my mom were laughing every time he like smirked, behind their backs, like Laurie, or just his cute smiles and all that.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if I'm on the Timmy fan train. I don't know. I don't dislike him at all. He's definitely nothing less than a good actor. But I don't know. I feel like I've seen him in a lot, and he's never stood out to me as like, oh, this guy is sensational. But I feel like everyone else seems to get that from him, and I'm missing out.
I guess maybe it's because he doesn't. Maybe he's never in the kind of. Well, what do you think of his big kind of performance? Yeah, I mean the kind of the breakup scene and not the breakup scene. When he asked to
when he was shut down.
Yeah, well done.
I mean, yeah, he like same thing. Like he's really good in it. Like I'm not questioning his acting ability at all, but he just, I don't know. Like he was good, but I didn't think he was as good as Saoirse Ronan. I didn't think he was as good.
She commanded that scene entirely.
Totally. I think like he's good, but I feel like there are 4 better performances in the movie. You know what I mean? So he kind of just falls down the ranking a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, like the film is about those Little Women, so maybe.
Yeah, I feel like I feel that way for other movies he's into, where he's good, but he just kind of falls down the ranking a bit for me. I want to see him in a breakout thing, like obviously not for his career. His career is obviously huge, but I mean in terms of something that for me fully connects with me. Like, oh yeah, I get it. Timmy's the man.
Oh well, I know you don't like Call Me by Your Name, but I mean I think he's brilliant in that.
Yeah,
I think that was his breakout thing, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Watch him in The King. It's more it's a bit more action, but it's also got that good bit of drama and I think he did really well in The King.
Okay, cool. That might be it for me. I don't know. Maybe it's just because like he is really understated, and maybe that's just something I don't look for as much. So yeah, maybe seeing him in I don't know. I mean, chuck him in an action movie, I'm probably bound to like him on that. And of course, I mean Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep's Meryl Streep in this movie, so like she's great, but she didn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form.
Oops. Sorry. Fuck.
Huh?
That was really loud. Sorry.
We didn't hear anything. I didn't hear it. Did you hear something, Jen?
No.
Oh, never mind. I thought it just spoke really loud. Apparently not.
Oh, okay. No, sorry. No, I didn't hear anything.
You see, I'm not entirely on the Meryl Streep fan train the way that you're not entirely on Timmy.
Sure. Yeah, explain yourself.
No, actually, sorry, I'm looking at her stuff now. She's great in Doubt and The Deer Hunter, but I mean, The Post, shit. Fantastic Mr. Fox, Hardly There. Mamma Mia, shit.
I'm not as familiar with her career. Is that like a Robert De Niro situation? You know what I mean? Where Robert De Niro, obviously a phenomenal actor, but like he's done, I don't know, like Bad Grandpa or some bullshit. You know what I mean? Is that like, is her Mamma Mia Robert De Niro's whatever comedy bullshit he's doing? And like those aren't the places we should be looking to see the wealth of great acting she's done.
It's pretty big.
Is it? Do people like Mamma Mia?
Yeah.
I thought it was just like a silly comedy that maybe people didn't like. Okay. Well, what else is there? How do you like the score in the movie, Jaden?
This was something I took massive notice of, especially on the first time. I think I was so entirely enraptured in the story and you know what we're presented with on screen that I kind of wasn't paying massive attention to, you know, things that were out of shot. On the second time, I tried to pay more attention, but once again, I just became so enthralled by them. And I'm not sure if that's, you know, like it's a huge testament to you know, Gerwig and you know, the entire crew. And I think, you know, so I don't really know what to say about the score. Perhaps that perhaps it just enhanced the film entirely without me even realizing it. Maybe that's what maybe it's brilliant. Maybe it's not. I can't really speak about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm in a similar boat where it's one of those situations for me. I wrote the only note I wrote down about the score was the score blends into the tone of each scene seamlessly. I wrote that down because I think at one moment in the movie I realized the score was there. You know,
yeah,
I remembered the movie had a score.
That's how I feel. You know, you forget it's there because it just blends in. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. So it's a tricky thing, but I think in this situation I do lean towards saying that it's a huge compliment to it.
My favorite character, though, who we haven't talked about yet, is the professor guy, European professor guy.
Oh, Fred, really Lord Freddy.
Great. Yeah. She deserved him. You know,
I can see Liam turning into him in 20 years' time. Actually, it's not even 20; it's like 10 years' time.
Turning into a German.
Yeah, German professor that teaches at a New York boarding school.
Yeah, but it was great. He's only in. I wish he was in more scenes. But you could tell in one of the early scenes that Joe was really into him. The one where they go dancing. Initially, she doesn't look like that interested in him because once she goes to the guy to get to you know, hand her book in or her chapters in, she comes back and she's kind of ignoring him. But then what I forgot about was the scene this time where they go dancing. She's like looking for him, and then they dance.
I think the fact that we see him read Joe's stories but not Teddy read it is also a massive indicator, because you know what you write, and you know, especially unpublished, like, you know, that was all her unpublished thoughts. You know, you make yourself very vulnerable by letting other people read it, and that's, you know, she probably did with, you know, Laurie, but we just didn't see it on screen. So I think like that's another kind of indication of her relationship with him.
Definitely, yeah. And she takes it really hard as well when he doesn't like it. So, you know, yeah, definitely, she made herself vulnerable for that.
Yeah, but like in that scene, he's saying that he doesn't like her writing when it's like appealing to, you know, trying to appeal to the newspaper instead of like being true to her and her story, you know, which he writes at the end.
I had a moment of confusion. She just in the movie, of course, because this is where I'm stupid. Zach can't really figure this shit out. Of course, the book Little Women is a book that don't know the author's name, but
Louise Alcott. Louise Alcott, is that
right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she wrote it. In this movie, the character Joe wrote the book called Little Women. That was, you know, obviously, you know, the book was clearly about her in the film, but like, did the characters have different names in her book? And in the actual book Little Women, did the character Joe write the book Little Women?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I don't know. That confused me as well when I first saw it. But I think it must have happened in the book, right? Because then you wouldn't have a lot of the plot in the film, in the book/film, right?
Didn't Alcott say something about she writes about happy things because she's had hardship in her own life or something like that?
I've got no idea. Did she say that?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought. Yeah, well, I thought that was a Joe March quote.
Wait, is it? I don't fucking know. Yeah.
Are they just the same person? Is that what we're getting at?
I think I think Joe's largely based off the author.
Yeah, well, that would make... So, okay. Like, that would make perfect sense if, the author is writing essentially what's close to her life story in, IRL, as the kids say. And then, in her book, renames herself to Joe March, right? That's... I get that. But then on that level, then you couldn't really have Joe March write the book Little Women in her book. Then that would make me think that Greta Gerwig inserted the Joe March writes the Little Women book in this adaptation. But this is obviously hard to say without knowing the book.
Here's a question, right?
Okay.
So, if Louisa May Alcott wrote the book Little Women, and in Little Women Joe March wrote Little Women, who are the characters that are in the Little Women that Joe March wrote? Like, is it a different parallel universe of Little Women? That would mean that there would be another Little Women inside that.
Yeah. It's like one of those situations when you're in a, when you're in a lift or something and the mirrors are set up the right way and you just can see yourself going forever. So you just look through.
Yeah, or like Russian dolls.
Like that.
Yeah.
Russian dolls, that's a better analogy. Yeah, like that.
That's what I call my fucking assignments, where I go do like three different essays. Russian dolls.
Well, I'm glad that this actually turned into a discussion point, because I was afraid I was going to say that, because I was confused about that. I was afraid I was going to say it and you guys were going to be like, what the hell are you talking about, sir? But I'm glad that some people out were also confused about this.
Does she start making her own books at the end? Because she doesn't sell the copyright, so she doesn't allow him, the guy, to make them, right?
No, he makes them, I think, right? He makes them. She just doesn't sell the copyright, but he can still publish them without that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so she can like make sequels or whatever.
She gets creative control, but they can still publish on the agreed percentage they had. But shout out to Tracy Letts. That's his name, right? The guy who's the book. I don't know, the publisher business person. He's so good. He stands out to me in everything he's in. He has a lot of screen presence. I like him a lot. Loved him in Lady Bird. Loved him in this, and he's not in this very much at all. But big shout out to him, because that those conversations, those confrontations that she has with the publisher of the book company, right? They are pretty important to the story, and I felt whenever those conversations happen, I always really enjoyed them, because he's a sick. I love how I try and traditionally have a section where we talk about the characters and the performances and stuff, but like this is still going, I guess. What about when Bob Odenkirk shows up, man? I was very. He took me out of the movie. I'm not going to lie. He took me out of the movie. I don't know if that's on him. I don't think it's on him. Yeah. But it's probably on me. He took me out of it, though.
You see, I had no objection to him in the film, because I've never seen. I don't think I've seen him in anything really. And him rocking up as the dad, I was like, oh, epic, But then, like, I've read reviews where like people are a bit, taken aback by him rocking up and saying like he wasn't the right casting for it. But for me, who's never read the book and that's never seen, well, not really seen anything that Odenkirk's in, I was fine with him.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess that is the main perspective I need to answer that question. Yeah. So yeah, he didn't bother you at all.
Nah, it's pretty exciting when he rocked up, because like he's a familiar face to me, like, but I'm not really familiar with his work, and like I thought he did his job well, and like I entirely believe him as the kind of funny dad that's a war hero.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm glad to hear that, because that tells me that it must just be a thing of anyone who's basically seen him in other. I don't know if it's maybe just other things, or if everyone has that reaction if they've seen him as Saul Goodman. Maybe it's just a thing where he's now just painted himself in a corner where I just can't see him as anything else other than Saul now. Like maybe that's totally on me, and to credit to him and those things maybe. But yeah, I'm glad that he's not an issue then.
Did he go back though? Because he wasn't in the later scenes. Like when... Actually, no, he was.
No, yeah, he stays home.
Right.
Oh, yeah, because he's at the funeral, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
How am I still not done with the actors? Holy shit. Florence Pugh, okay. Haven't seen her in anything, I don't think. I know she's in Midsummer. I want to see that movie. I know she's in Black Widow coming up. I'm going to see that movie. But she really blew me away here, especially in the, the older iteration of Amy. The younger one, we've already talked about that. But seeing her interactions with Meryl Streep, with Laurie, her hanging around in France painting, particularly the quite long take we get of her giving the speech to Laurie about women and about marriage being a financial proposition. That was a standout scene to me. I was very impressed by her there. But speak of the devil, Zach, Amy's speech about marriage was not in the initial script, but was suggested by Meryl Streep. After working and talking with writer and director Gretta Gerwig, Streep asserted that there needed to be a moment in the movie that gave modern audiences the opportunity to understand the true powerlessness of women in that period. Not only could they not vote or work, but through marriage they would lose ownership of their money, property, and children. The speech was written shortly before shooting the scene. So great shout, Meryl Streep.
I think the ending also changes I think the movie also changed the ending in that way because she gets the school and marriage or something like that. I think in the book is only she could get one or something.
Well, here it says that the professor still rocks up. They propose, but they have to postpone the wedding for a year because he's poor as. But they get married. Aunt March dies and leaves everything to Joe, so they open up the school. They have 2 kids, and then she still apparently also publishes a novel.
It's the same event-wise, but maybe
because I also heard that she changed the ending to for a more modern audience as well. But I think it's probably the way in which it's presented, where Joe's reluctant to make her character marry at first, and it's probably just more in that type of in that interaction there and the way it's presented that it's altered, not necessarily the events.
Okay, so apparently, when she's talking to the guy about how the book should end, and she says in the book she should get married. Well, they're saying that so she really didn't actually get married to Friedrich, but she lived out her independent dream to, get the book published and everything, which is what Alcott apparently originally wanted, but she couldn't. She had to put the marriage on the end because of the times.
So that it sounds like the movie fully contradicts that.
Well, well, because it plays images side by side of her getting the house and the marriage, and then her publishing a book. And before that happens, she's talking to the guy about what should happen in the book, right? So maybe that stuff only happens in the book, in the movie.
So maybe the change in that sense is that it can still be interpreted the way of the book, in that the marriage part is only happening in the book. You know what I mean? It's not reality. Yeah. But because the movie never really presents that explicitly, never goes out of its way to suggest that could be a possibility. The movie definitely drives home that the book ending, the happy ending, is sort of what it's going for. Maybe that's the change, is that it just kind of doesn't want to go too far into the other side of it, just wants to kind of remain positive.
Right, next time we review an adaptation, we have to read the book as well. Fuck
it. No chance, but it would help in this scenario. I did find it weird when Saoirse Ronan and Tracy Letts stared into the cameras to say their letters. Luke mentioned that too. It was a weird moment for me. It was weird.
I liked it because it happens earlier in the film as well, doesn't it? When I know that there's a letter sent earlier where they read it to the camera, and then I'm pretty sure they leave it at that, and then at the end there's another 2 or 3 instances of it. So the fact that they chucked it in at the start and then it wraps up, the fact that it bookmarks the end as well, I don't mind it as a structural thing.
Oh yeah, I think I don't remember it at the start at all. So because that is part of the reason I didn't like it, is that I thought it just came in at the end and it was super not set up at all. But
I'm pretty sure it did, and I'm trying to remember what letter it could have been now, but
You're probably right. They did write a few letters. Yeah, you're probably right.
It was when the professor sent the books to Joe. It was because he says, he reads out the little note he left on him.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Okay. Never mind. I don't like it.
Going back to the ending, the first time I saw it in the film, I really didn't like the ending. But I think this actually fixes my problem with the ending because, the whole story is about, the whole story is mainly about Joe's independence as a writer and breaking from these traditions. And if the ending is actually her, going on with that path and not, going through the traditional route of marriage that these people said that women needed to have to be, satisfied in life, then that actually makes a lot more sense, and I think that's actually better for the story. Because, when I first saw it at the end, it was this, story against struggle and everything, and then at the end, everything just magically gets solved. And for Jo, she gets married, which she didn't want the whole time, so that was kind of sucky, but this kind of fixes that problem for me.
I like the ending either way. I like the upbeat note. You're right, though. It does sort of play against Joe's character, it feels like. But, her whole conversation about being really lonely was also enough for me to fully buy into the I'm just happy she's married. Even though I totally understand how that might, not be great for her soul and, her aspirations and all the other things the film touches on already. But it allowed me to buy into the happy ending, so I didn't mind it either.
I'd like to think that there's even if it was a marriage and all the shit that did happen, of how everything was forfeited over to the husband. I'd like to believe that Friedrich had enough respect and admiration for Jo that he'd allow her to remain to do what she does.
Yeah,
I think what Gerwig was saying when she was interviewed about it and stuff is that she didn't want to give off the idea that women needed to get married to be satisfied, and that's what Joe's story was all about. And it comes back to what Alcott wanted in the time as well, because she didn't want to give that story to Joe because it would kind of send this message, you needed marriage to be satisfied and all that. And so that's why I think the ending for Joe, where she's publishing the book and all that, kind of works for the movie and for her.
Yeah, totally. Let's give our final verdicts of Little Women. I'll start and give it an 8. I thought it was great. I enjoyed it a lot. It's not something that, I don't know, doesn't, like I already mentioned, doesn't 100% connect with me, resonate with me as a movie that, I'd love to rewatch that, I'm sure I will rewatch it at some point, but I'm not clamoring for that necessarily. But nonetheless, the story, I don't know, it's really special, I think. It's super easy to connect with emotionally because of all the nature of the premise and the subject matter. And that's probably a credit to the source material more than anything. But the way in which Greta Gerwig kind of creates and enhances that source material as a roller coaster of emotions that kind of reflects everyone's life experience on all different levels, in any given setting. And this is such a particular time period as a period piece, but it still feels, as poignant as ever to anyone, watching it today, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I'll give it an 8. How about you, Jaden?
10 out of 10 for me. I really think it's a monument of filmmaking and character treatment. I think it's really extraordinary in everything it does. Like I said earlier, I don't think I articulated it very well during this. I just kind of said I love it, but
yeah, I know it's hard. I can't do that for any movie I love either.
Yeah, I really did. I think everything works, and there was full level of connection and everything. I think I was a bit hurt by watching it, for a second time in 3 weeks, but it was very minimal, and it's it's nothing that's going to hamper my score or my perception of it greatly. So 10 out of 10 banger.
Awesome. Now, Fitzy, what are you going to give it on the special Liam Fitzpatrick scale of 5 out of 5? Yeah, what out of 5?
4 out of 5. Yeah, that's great, man.
Let's get into news chat. We'll do one story this week. How about that? One story. But it's an important story because it follows, of course, last week's news. We talked about Johnny Depp being booted off Fantastic Beasts 3. I talked about how I liked Johnny Depp a lot in that second movie, and I was disappointed by this news. But fear not Zach's consciousness, because apparently the person in talks to replace Johnny Depp as Grindelwald is Mads Mikkelsen. And when I saw this, dude, it was like, I felt like I had somehow made this happen. I feel like I had conjured the universe to do this. After last week, I talked about, I really like Johnny Depp. I don't know if anything can really do this for me, And then, of course, they chuck in Mads Mikkelsen, who is like perfect. It's just like, there's no other better alternative that can be conceived. So, needless to say, I'm very happy about this. I assume you're also happy, judging off that, Liam.
Oh, that's fucking epic. I mean, he's a better actor anyway, but yeah, that's awesome.
So awesome. It makes so much sense too. Like I can see that, and I would not find that jarring at all.
Oh wow, I'm actually hyped for the next film now.
They did it. They made someone hyped for their movie. Holy shit. The only way that they can get me even more hyped now is if they announce this third one as the last one.
The only way they can get me more hyped is if they fucking write a better film than they did for the first second one.
I would like
Isn't there meant to be 5 of them?
There's meant to be 5 of them, yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, I've heard this talked about elsewhere because it's a 5-film contract, with J.K. Rowling or, the Harry Potter people. I don't know. I guess it's just with J.K. Rowling, I suppose. To do, Warner Brothers to do 5 Harry Potter universe films. And it's been announced that, it was 5 Fantastic Beasts films. But they can always pivot. They can always do only 3 or maybe, if they want 4 Fantastic Beasts films and then do something like a Cursed Child movie if they think that's going to perform better, which it probably would.
Yeah, it's still shit they written though.
I mean, how can they drag it on so long like this?
I know. What's the story? Jane, I haven't heard enough excitement about Mads from you in this section.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool, but it's like I said, I really... The second Fantastic Beasts film burnt me bad. I mean, I still think it's okay on a fundamental level because it's still in the Harry Potter universe, so I think there's still a base level of appreciation. But
right.
it burned me bad, and I it's hard for me to get behind a third one or be anything excited about it,
I'm at least, though, curious about the cliffhanger of the last movie.
I don't even remember what the fucking cliffhanger was. What was it?
That Ezra Miller is a Dumbledore.
Oh, what? Really? Fuck, I don't even remember that.
Yeah. It was the last line of the movie, I think.
I feel like the second one was a lot more of from what I remember, it just feels like a fucking montage of events without a real connecting story.
I mean, yeah, it had a plot, yeah.
And
I know what you mean.
It felt like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard for me to get behind this anything to do with it. Of course I'm gonna get in there and watch it because it's Harry Potter, and it's it's in that same universe. But like I said, it fucking stung,
Yeah, I know. Anyway, banger of a news week. Now it's time for our highlights of the week. Jaden, what have you been watching?
I watched quite a lot of good shit this week, but I think I'm going to talk about The Cat Returns, which is a Studio Ghibli film. I think it's not one of the more popular ones, but it definitely should be because that shit's just funny as fuck. It's actually so funny, and I was not expecting that at all. I was expecting a traditional Ghibli film about I was expecting all their their usual stuff about nature versus technology and your other typical elements that they have involved, and I was expecting a lot more adventure. But it's really light, and it's it's really easy to watch and get into, and it's short, it's really accessible, and it's just so funny, and I loved it so much. And it's a shame that I'm sure it's still popular because of the studio, but it's not one of the ones at the forefront. But yeah, The Cat Returns is really great.
Is it a great movie for cat lovers? Are there a lot of cats in it?
There's a shit ton of cats.
Oh, dude, yes. Oh, yes. Okay. This has to get me over the line for watching a Ghibli movie. But do you want to go next, Fitzy? Or what? Yeah?
Sure. Mine is Blood Simple, which is the Coen Brothers' first film. So I was looking at this guy. There's this critic. On Letterboxd, and he's got like super like ridiculously harsh ratings. It's basically like super thin curve in terms of his like higher rated films. And
okay.
He uses a out of 100 rating scale. So
Right.
he's only got like 4 or 5. He's got like 5 films that are 100 out of 100. And he's seen like 9,000 or something. So I wanted to watch some of these films and see like, okay, what the heck is so special about the ones that he's put at the very top? And Blood Simple was one of those. And one of those rated 100. And for the first like 10-20 minutes, I was like, oh, okay, this is like not. I was expecting something like really great, and it was just set up, and I thought it was boring in the first like 15 or so minutes. But then, as soon as like the 20-minute mark happens, it's basically just like tension and character moment after character, like good moment after good moment, and the classic kind of Coen Brothers like misunderstandings and everything, and it's just great. Like in terms of just classic filmmaking stuff like tension and character and stuff, it's just a really perfect film. So the plot is really simple as well. I mean, plot's simple. It's just this guy is someone's cheating on his wife. He just wants to kill the guy, and the hitman. Things happen and things get confused and stuff, and it's hard to describe, but no, it's great.
Cool. Is it one of the? You said it's like an early Coen Brothers, right?
It's their first film, I think, that they debut.
I love how this segment always turns into you guys watching these really cool movies, and I've never heard of them. I've never heard of this movie, but that's great. That's great. I watched a movie that you guys have never heard of. It's called Tenet, and I watched it. I don't how much do you guys know at this point? Because obviously, so many people have seen it now for months. I still went in knowing the same amount I knew months ago, so I was good. But have you guys been exposed to much more since?
Yeah, I know some things
No,
about it.
I still don't know too much.
Cool. Okay, no worries. I just wanted to ask to kind of gauge of what I'll say. That's fine. I'll remain very vague. That's cool. But in short, the movie's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. That's that's what I said the moment we walked out of the theater. It's bonkers. I'm talking. I don't know how much I like it yet, and that's because I could not hear a lot of the dialogue in the theater, and I was very concerned that this was a me thing, that I'm dumb and that I'm like deaf or whatever. I walked out. My family had the same issue, so I'm like, okay, well, there's that at least. And I was also, I guess, sort of relieved to see that other people also had major issues with the audio mixing in the film online. So I was glad to see that, just because to know I'm not insane. So that's why I cannot wait to watch it again. It only comes out. We can rent it and it'll come out on Blu-ray in only 4 weeks from now. So I'm stoked for that, to watch it with subtitles, so I can actually get all the little bits and pieces, because the movie, has a fair bit of exposition, as you'd probably imagine. And I feel like there were chunks of it that I was not getting. So I'm stoked to do that. But nonetheless, totally got the core of the movie, and I'm speaking about it positively if you cannot tell. I've not committed to how much I like it until I want to rewatch it in the next few weeks, definitely. But yes, I was in short, I was very impressed, and I was thinking about the movie a lot the next day, which I think, and I'm still thinking about the movie a lot, which I think is a credit to it for sure. And I'm just really excited and glad that I've seen it now. So yeah, you guys should go, just so you can experience, struggling to hear it, and then vilify, make me feel a bit better.
I want to get the original, terrible theatre experience.
In all honesty, though, it is a sort of ironic thing where we've talked about it on the news so many times. Nolan determined to maintain the theatre experience. We know how much he loves the theatre experience and all that. There is no doubt in my mind that if I'd waited 4 weeks and watched this movie out in this room right here with my headphones on, I would have had a better experience. There's no doubt in my mind, having seen it now in a theatre. And that's only because of the audio, which is such a shame. But yeah, it's sort of funny in that way, I guess. Wait, what do I normally say here? Now we hand the show over to you, the audience, with our question of the show. Last week we asked you, what's your favourite horror movie?
Oh, I fucking forgot about that shit. I need to look.
Sorry, we got a fair few responses, so you got time to think of something. The Pub Grub Pig wrote into us. Dude, that is a tongue twister of a name. I appreciate it. He says, my favourite scary movie is Scary Movie 5. Now, I presume, Jaden, you'd be able to answer this for me. This is a joke answer, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Just making sure. Because I'm aware that Scary Movie that they're parodies. I'm aware of that. Of Scream, I think.
They parody like everything. Like I think the first one started off. I mean, like it's most famously a parody of Scream because that's kind of like the image of Scary Movie. You know, Ghostface is there, but like they kind of parody everything.
Cool. Okay.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
That's weird that it would be a parody of Scream, though, because Scream is kind of a bit of a parody.
Is it?
It's not a parody, but a satire more, or a comment on slashes.
I think I used the word parody very bad, but yeah, like comment, yeah.
I don't know, but they're really shit. That's all you need to know. Yeah,
Okay.
they're kind of like all those. You know, like the like the Twilight parodies and like like the Hunger Games parody and shit like that. It's all the same shit. You know, it's like asshole comedy for a cheap laugh, and like sometimes like there's a joke that lands, but like 98% of it doesn't.
Yeah, that's not my cup of tea. Lockie says, my favourite horror movie would 100% be The Shining, mostly because it is the only one I've ever seen. Now, Lockie also told us he's seen Dr. Sleep, so I don't know what he's on about. So, Lockie, I just called you out. Your answer, the why part of your answer is just wrong, but anyway. I'm glad you like The Shining. You're 100% ahead of me there, so I need to see that movie, get up to speed with you. Luke says, I don't really have a favourite horror film. I've never been a fan of the genre. I've seen A Quiet Place and that was okay. It was a bit slow for my liking, but I suppose that's what most horror films are like.
Dude, if you think fucking A Quiet Place is slow, I don't know what you're going to think about, like, a lot of other horror films.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. Yeah, Quiet Place really isn't slow, is it?
No.
Yeah, you're right about that. I do agree with Luke, though. What I was going to say is that I don't really know if I'm a fan of the genre that much either. That's kind of my thing when I was thinking about my answer. I just struggle with the genre a little bit, but I liked A Quiet Place more than it sounds like he did, so there's that. And Michael says this one is definitely not a joke. Definitely not a joke. Mr. Bean goes on holiday.
It's the one where he abducts a kid in France and he takes him to, on the train and shit.
Yeah, of course. Spectacular. What are your answers to this question? Jane, have you managed to think of something?
Oh, no.
Move on?
No, you guys can go first.
My favorite horror is Alien. So it's
of course,
sci-fi horror, but yeah, it's I've seen it 3 times now, and it's tense and scary every time. Really, yeah. I guess the most like pure horror kind of film in terms of my favorite is The Witch.
Excellent. My answer, Jen, would you? I did the good old letterbox filter to help me on this. It put 10 Cloverfield Lane in the horror category. Would you do that?
Personally, no. But like that's the same way I wouldn't classify Silence of the Lambs as a horror, but a lot of people do. But it's like I guess it is, but like I wouldn't personally put it in there.
I think you're right about that one though. So I trust your judgment on this. So I guess okay, I'll throw out 10 Cloverfield Lane. I really like that movie a lot. If you want to count it, go for it. But to be more fitting, Get Out's my other option. I loved watching that movie for the first time. I love when a movie comes along, especially when I have zero expectations for it and it's just on, or maybe you've heard some things about it or something, you've heard of it in some way. And that's what Get Out was. I'd heard of the movie. I decided I was going to sit down by myself and just turn it on. and I did, and I was very surprised, and it made for a very memorable viewing experience. I really liked the movie a lot. I love how it's just constantly kind of taking, it's constantly stepping up its creepiness and what's going on. You're constantly getting new little clues leading until the third act, and everything's fully revealed to you, and then it's just all chaos and all payoff, which I love so much. So yeah, Get Out, great movie. Have we bought enough time for you, Jaden?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm going to struggle no matter what. I love horror. I think it's one of my favorite genres. I love how diverse it is, you know, from slashers to horror comedies to sci-fi horror, like Liam mentioned, and everything else there is. So like narrowing it down for one is it really sucks and it's hard. I don't know, because like yeah, I don't know, fuck. You know, I'll just say this, the 1977 Suspiria. It's probably like the most memorable thing. It whenever that question comes to mind, whenever that question is proposed, it's always one of the first to come to mind, and it's just fucking visually stunning, and it's absolutely, you know, stupendous. Yeah, fuck it, we'll go with that.
Excellent. You've talked about this movie so much.
Oh, you probably shouldn't watch it because you're gonna watch it and think it's arse. But yeah.
You've said that before too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've talked about it so much. I feel like I have to buy into it, sort of.
You know, come over. I've got both of them. We can do a double viewing.
But then I'll shit on it, probably, according to you.
Yeah, probably. But I'll cop it.
All right. I might have to take you up on that. Anyways, thank you everyone for tuning into Cinema Effect this week. We appreciate you all as always. And thanks for writing in. We got a fair few submissions. We appreciate that. And thanks to Luke once again for his review. We always love when we get a review. All 3 times it's happened. But of course, as many reviews, we'd love to get reviews. So please don't hesitate to do that at all. Anyways, Fitzy, what are we watching next week?
We're watching the trial of the Chicago 7. It's on Netflix.
Indeed. I don't know anything about the movie other than Aaron Sorkin, who is a person I know from YouTube masterclass ads.
He wrote Social Network, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we all appreciate you tuning in. Have a great rest of your week, everyone, and goodbye.